Hi everyone, my name is Sebastian Chen, a member of the Macau Association for the Advancement of English Language Teaching. As you're watching this screencast, I assume that you must have seen our call for proposals and are wondering if you would like to be part of the ELT conference this year, right? As a follow-up to the previous screencast, this video will hopefully be able to help you identify whether a presentation is the suitable format for the topic you would like to share with us at the conference. Following is the overview of what I'm going to share with you here. First, we'll look at some basic characteristics of presentations. Then we'll compare the similarities and differences between a research-based and a practice-based presentation, which is believed to be more favored by our target participants in this year's conference. The last part will be a discussion on the structure of a practice-based presentation. Let's begin our journey. First of all, the idea of giving presentations should not be something new to you. Think about it, your job interviews, project meetings, or maybe you've participated in a research before. If none of the above is applicable, then the nature of your job, teaching, involves a lot of presentations, right? One of the main goals of this year's conference is to bridge the gap between secondary and tertiary teachers. So, sharing and participating in this event is a learning process for all participants, including you, the presenter. So, bear in mind that your sharing doesn't have to be something you've finished or tried out already. It can also be teaching ideas you're working on or are planning to experiment. But one rule of thumb for all presentations is that the audience determines what you talk about. So make sure you address issues that are relevant to your audience, that is, the local English teaching community. As opposed to a workshop or a forum, presentations are more speaker-centered, and thus the time allowed is 30 minutes. Yes, only 30 minutes, even less than a normal lesson's time. This implies it's really important that you may have to be selective in what to be discussed in your presentation. All in all, remember, an academic presentation is about an idea, not a paper. In this slide, you can see the structure of a typical research-based presentation consisting of the introduction, body, and conclusion. Similarly, a practice-based presentation shares the same pattern, but the only difference lies in the body. A research-based presentation would require the presenter to justify, for example, the use of methodology, and it may involve a lot of data analysis, which a lot of times can be very boring to the audience. However, a practice-based presentation may worry less about the objectivity of the presentation itself, because its nature is to share what the presenter already knows and how he or she can relate to a particular group of students in a particular context. So let's take a look at each section in detail. The success of your presentation is inevitably linked with the first impression and whether you can engage your audience. So try asking meaningful questions, use an attention-grabbing picture, or describing a classroom situation which most teachers would be in. These will help your audience stay hooked throughout your presentation. The goal of the overview is to give your audience in advance a general idea of what to expect. This is particularly helpful for a practice-based presentation because each presenter may approach their sharing differently. Say, some might go for a problem-solution pattern, while a comparison and contrast one is also often seen. So, why not take this opportunity to give your audience a map to follow along the way? I think no one would disagree that teachers are solving learner and teaching related problems on a daily basis. So in the coming few slides, I will use a problem solution pattern as the basis for explaining how to prepare for a practice-based presentation. Of course, you can approach it differently based on your own unique situation. Well, if you're still with me, I'm very sure you are somewhere between the dichotomy of I know what I want to present and I absolutely have no idea what I want to present. Am I right? If so, then think about the following questions. Am I able to engage my students in effective group discussion? Am I able to apply the knowledge I learned in workshops, training courses to my classes? Am I confident in managing and teaching a large-size class? Well, the above are just some examples for you to begin with. If your answer is no to any of them, you may regard it as the problem you want to address through your presentation, which is in turn becoming your motivation for looking for a solution to the problem you have. Once you have a problem in mind, based on the nature of your problem, you can then, for example, come up with a peer teaching strategy, design an evaluation form for essay writing, or even collaborate with your colleagues to reconstruct your school curriculum. Once the planning is done, go ahead and try it out. But of course, take notes during the process because it's good for your reflection. Finally, it's vital to have a method to evaluate whether your teaching idea or experiment works or not, be it comparing pre- and post-test results or conducting small group interviews. Choose the one you are comfortable with. There is nothing wrong with experimenting, not just with your students, but also with yourself. Always remember, the ELT conference is a great chance that allows you to learn and grow through trials and errors. In this part of your presentation, you might want to take the chance to discuss with your audience things that you think you've done well and reflect on how to improve it with regard to your future teaching. Also, you can discuss how your ideas can be generalized to a broader target group of students or teachers, but of course only if you are able to justify yourself. It's equally important to draw the audience attention to any particular problems, mistakes throughout the process of implementation and or evaluation, hoping that the participants might be able to join you in a discussion in the Q&A session later. Finally, here comes the summary and final remarks. The recap is your final chance to hammer your point home. Try to make a connection with your introduction and think about what the most important message you would like your audience to remember. Even at the end, you can try to make a call for action among your audience. At this point, you've been talking for almost 25 minutes. It's really important to leave a few minutes for your audience to reflect on what you've talked about. Don't feel bad if no one asks questions immediately. You may have been used to the same kind of indifference from your students. But I'm sure your fellow teachers are just pondering upon your brilliant ideas. Wait, there's one finally. Oh, honestly, the one who asks a question at this moment might usually, pose a challenge to you. Then what should you do if you don't really know how to answer the question? Well, all I can say is keep calm and carry on. Try to have a discussion with the audience actually instead of dominating it. Your audience at this point may not be expecting a complete and direct answer. What they want is just clarification and some room for further discussion. So finally, when you are able to show your contact details, tell your audience to write to you for further discussion. Well, another tip for those who want to be on the safe side, think about questions people might ask before your presentation and prepare for them as part of your preparation for your sharing. Believe me, you will definitely nail it. Well, today we've talked about the basic structure of a practice-based presentation from introduction, body to conclusion. Hopefully my presentation is able to help you to identify then how to prepare for your presentation.